Hello everyone, today is 4th of July and my congratulations to all the members of our community from US with the Independence Day. Happy holiday, dear friends. Now it's 10 past 11 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. And I will start with the official confirmation from Russian Defense Ministry that reported by TASS news agency about establishing full control over the Novi district of the Chasov Yar, which is also known as a canal district on the map. Many members of our community are of course familiar with this area. This is it, by the way. This is canal micro district. That's how I call it, and many other commentators. Although Russian Defense Ministry mentioned it as a micro district Novi. And yes, it's officially confirmed now that this area is under full Russian control, and now Russian troops will start local scale offensive operations inside the main part of the Chasov Yar. Significant tactical success on part of Russian troops in this direction. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that as a result of yet another Russian Iskander missile strike on one of the Kiev-controlled airfields, to be more precise, in Dolgintsevo airfield, MiG-29, Ukrainian MiG-29 fighter jet was destroyed. So yet another plane been lost by Kiev regime, and in last, if we combined all the destroyed planes in last several days, it will amount up to 9 or 10 at this point, and this happening in just last 2-3 days. So of course significant success on part of Russian military, and well, Kiev regime clearly has issue on its hands, because several more such successful missile raids on Kiev-controlled airfields, and Zelensky and his criminal associates will have no airplanes left. Also, by the way, very important news from RIA Novosti that Kiev regime forces targeted substation in Energodar 3 times yesterday. 8 workers were wounded, and this substation is of course important, not just because of the supply of electricity to Energodar city itself, but because of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Let me show you this area, by the way. Unfortunately, we are clearly observing intensification of these terrorist attacks, these strikes in direction of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and Energodar by Kiev regime forces. So this is Zaporizhzhia direction, of course, by the way, and if we zoom in, this is Energodar city, and this is Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which is based basically right next to city itself on a bank of Kakhovka water reservoir. And of course Russian side informed IAEA about this terrorist attack on energo facility that plays crucial role in energo supply of nuclear station, which needs constant electricity supply to run crucial facilities in the nuclear power station, including cooling systems. And IAEA's head, Rafael Grossi, reacted on this new wave of attacks and strongly condemned these drone attacks. Although once again, by the way, he did not say that it's a Kiev regime that is conducting these strikes. This asset of CIA, by the way, Rafael Grossi, is something else, man. Everyone knows that it's a Kiev regime that conducts these strikes, but for whatever reason, Rafael Grossi never ever called directly to Zelensky and his criminal associates to stop creating this nuclear threat to entire European continent, at least by targeting nuclear power station and energo facilities around power station that are providing ZNPP with the electricity. But at least Rafael Grossi reacted on these attacks and condemned it. RT's report that NATO chiefs push for Ukraine funding fails, according to media reports. So NATO member states have rejected proposal by Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg to spend another 40 billion euros or 43 billion US dollars a year on aid for Ukraine. Several media outlets have reported the constitutor countries, however, have agreed to earmark their sum for Kiev's needs next year. Reuters claims so. Some countries are ready to allocate some funds next year, but refusing to give to Kiev regime this year anymore funds. Since late May, their outgoing Secretary General has on multiple occasions urged member states to make long-term funding commitments at the upcoming NATO summit in Washington, D.C. on July 9 and 11. From 9 to 11, during press conference last month, Stoltenberg claimed that her allies have provided around 40 billion euros worth of military support to Ukraine each year. Since 2022, the NATO chief said he wants to maintain this level of support for as long as necessary, securing fresh funding every year. Well, Jens Stoltenberg is looking for a job, I guess, after his retirement in some of their bigger military-industrial complex companies in the West, and probably he will get one. Just mark my words, by the way, once he will retire from a current position of Secretary General of NATO, I mean, give it a couple of months, and most likely he will become spokesperson or CEO or something like that in one of the bigger company of the military-industrial complex of the West, or he will find the job in some field that will be financed by military-industrial complex. He worked quite hard to enrich himself and military-industrial complex, so he will get some paycheck. He will definitely get some paycheck. RT is reporting that well, that's quite interesting. While entire world, maybe with the exception of several extreme Russophobes in the leadership of Western states, are calling for de-escalation in Ukraine, we have this information here that aide of Zelensky, Andrei Yermak, is stating that there will be no compromises with Russia. There will be no more Ukraine on the political map then. Simple as that. So Ukraine does not intend to cave in to Russian demands and consider formally ceding the territories it claims as its own to Moscow in order to end the conflict. Vladimir Zelensky's chief of staff, Andrei Yermak, has stated, speaking to reporters in Washington ahead of next week's NATO summit. Yermak signaled that while Kiev is open to any advice that could help to end hostilities with Moscow and achieve just peace, Ukraine's red lines remain unchanged. We are not ready to go to the compromise for the very important things and values: independence, freedom, democracy, territorial integrity, sovereignty, he said, as quoted by Reuters. And by the way, let's go through this quote. He is talking about some values that these criminals, Zelensky and his criminal associates, have. First, he mentioned independence. Who in right mind can call Ukraine independent? Ukraine is run by Washington, by the way, for a long time, and without Western financial aid, this quasi-state will collapse in a couple of months' time. And this is not just me saying, but this was stated by International Monetary Fund, Western-run financial institution, and this was said by World Bank, also Western-run financial system. So there is no independent Ukraine as such in existence. There is none of it. He also is mentioning freedom. What kind of freedom he is talking about? Citizens of Ukraine are desperate to flee country, and dozens of them are dying trying, by the way. So many citizens of Ukraine just drown while attempting to cross a river, for example, between Ukraine and Moldova or Romania. So many Ukrainians have been killed during their attempt to cross the border with its neighbor countries. And now, by the way, because of these huge waves of citizens of Ukraine that are trying to run out of Ukraine, borderlines, Kiev regime is heavily mining borderlines, and already there was cases when people were blown, killed by those mines. So if they are so free, and if people feel incredible in Ukraine, where these people are running, and they are running from what? So there is no freedom in Ukraine, by the way. This is all BS, and I mean, no well enough informed person will ever say that citizens of Ukraine have any freedoms at all. Any. They cannot even speak anything critical. They cannot even criticize Zelensky's government. Otherwise, they will end up in jail. And there were so many instances that citizens of Ukraine were jailed just because they said something critical, some slight criticism of the Zelensky's regime, and that's it. SBU will track them straight away and put them in jail. Then he is mentioning democracy. Ukraine and democracy. Ukraine and democracy? Really? This quasi-state is run by illegit individual who has no right to be in president's office. There is no independent media in Ukraine. There is no opposition parties. Nothing that constitutes to democracy. It's a total tyranny. It's a military dictatorship. That's what it is, by the way, in Ukraine right now. And he's talking about some territorial integrity. What territorial integrity is talking about? What? Since 2014, there is no such thing as a territorial integrity of Ukraine. And there is no such thing as Ukraine also. Because after coup d'etat that happened in Ukraine in 2014, with active participation of the Washington and a number of European capitals, there is no more Ukraine, by the way, and legit government of Ukraine. That's it. And I remind you that Crimea became part of Russia. Crimea declared independence from Ukraine in 2014, and the people of Crimea had every right to do so because according to UN, by the way, it's not just, there are two principles, isn't it? Territorial integrity, and also people have a right for самоопределение, how you say it. Self-determination. And people in Crimea made decision. They declared independence from this so-called Ukraine. And then they conducted referendum to join Russia. And the results of that referendum was accepted by Moscow. That's how Crimea absolutely legally became a part of Russia. And same happened with the Kherson region, Zaporizhzhia region, Donetsk People's Republic, and the Lugansk People's Republic. So there is no such a thing as a territorial integrity of the Ukraine. And sovereignty. He mentioned sovereignty. What sovereignty, man? What sovereignty? Zelensky is a cheap, dirty prostitute of the CIA. What we are talking about? What sovereignty? U.S. ambassador in Ukraine is much more powerful when it comes to decision-making process than any so-called official of the Kiev regime. So there is no such a thing as a sovereignty of Ukraine also. So total BS, by the way. Total BS, nonsense. Some cartoon characters are pretending to be something of importance. I mean, this clown show has to end, man. This clown show has to end. Ukraine was created artificially, and this artificial entity has to finish, by the way. I mean, enough is enough. History had its laugh. Okay. Now let's finish this nonsense. That's my commentary on this whole story, by the way. I'm sick and tired of hearing Ukraine. What Ukraine, man? Ukraine is only existing as a so-called independent state for 30 years and existed as a Soviet Socialist Republic in USSR for few dozen of years because Bolsheviks created it from thin air. Because historically speaking, there was no such a country, no such a kingdom, nothing on the name of Ukraine ever. Fucking hell, man. Sorry, dear friends, for my French. RT is reporting that Tucker Carlson, world famous US journalist, is about to interview Zelensky, or maybe he already interviewed him. So Vladimir Zelensky, this war criminal, mass murderer and terrorist, has finally accepted the request to be interviewed by Tucker Carlson. The US journalist has revealed a notorious Ukrainian government-leaked website, branded Carlson an enemy of their state. This, what they call that website, that is run by secret services of the Kiev regime, Mirror Tvorets or something. And they have kill list, and Tucker Carlson is on that kill list, and still he is willing to interview, to spend some time on that garbage on Zelensky. Okay, he is a journalist and there has every right, of course, to interview Zelensky. I will watch that interview. Let's see what that drug addict Zelensky and their garbage in personality has to say. So Carlson write about this upcoming interview on his Twitter page or X page, and also on Telegram. And then, quote, looks like we've got the Zelensky interview. Carlson said on Wednesday, we've been trying for 2 years and with a particular intensity after interviewing Putin in February. The point is to bring Americans much needed information about the conflict that's completely reshaping their country's position in the world. Coming soon, we hope, he added. Okay, let's see what Zelensky has to say. RT's report that key Russian ally joins Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Good news. Belarus has officially become a full-fledged member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Belarus earlier was an observer. Belarus had observer status, and now it's a full-fledged member of this economic and security bloc, covering most of Eurasia and accounting for more than 20% of global GDP. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is quite impressive, isn't it? And one should keep in mind that Shanghai Cooperation Organization is closely cooperating with the BRICS, understandably so, because leading countries in both are members of both leading countries of this world are members of these both organizations. And I will say BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization with some others together definitely are foundation of upcoming multipolar world. So yes, good for Belarus. Belarus is a part of this union now. TASS news agency is reporting that Russian president accepted the invitation of the president of Kazakhstan to visit the country in November 2024. Well, good news, good news. I'm quite critical of Kazakhstani leadership and their policies, but maybe I don't understand something. In any ways, I believe, especially after now, when this summit was held in Astana, in Kazakhstan, of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and there are so many leaders went to Astana, not just Russian president, but also leader of China, foreign minister of India was presented, I believe, leaders of many other countries. I guess leadership of Kazakhstan, if they had any doubts, maybe they will finally realize now where their future for the Kazakhstan is, and maybe leadership of Kazakhstan will stop playing around Western ruling class. That will be good for them and for Kazakhstan. And dear friends, if I may, let me remind you that this small media project of mine is completely subscriber funded, and I will be immensely grateful if you will consider to support my work with donations through PayPal or Boosty. This is the Boosty, by the way, or by subscribing, by becoming Patreon or paid subscriber on my Patreon page and also Boosty page. On both platforms you can subscribe, and today, for example, I published a new video, little extra, on Patreon and Boosty from Paviletsskaya Square in Moscow. I published information about it on my Telegram channel also. So yes, I'll be most grateful if you will consider to support. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Also, by the way, RT is reporting that Biden may drop out of the presidential race. US President Joe Biden is seriously considering whether he can recover from his disastrous debate performance, New York Times reported on Wednesday, citing a key ally who wished to remain anonymous. Biden struggled through last week's exchange with Donald Trump during that debate hosted by CNN. The Times described his performance as a devastating. Even though Biden's campaign had arranged the circumstances to be maximally favorable for him. So yet again, by the way, if you remember, I said from very beginning that most likely Biden was set up to fail with this whole debate topic, and he failed. And he was set up because I guess establishment, Democrat establishment, wanted to replace him with some other candidate, and that's the direction that US is heading right now, because Biden is under heavy assault, by the way, from the left now, isn't it? And we have this report. TASS news agency is sharing with public information that dozens of Democrat lawmakers are about to sign up for a open letter and call Biden to step out from their presidential race. Yet again, as I said, by the way, Biden is under quite a pressure, under assault, and most likely he will step away, and quite possibly Michelle Obama will be the candidate of the Democrats during upcoming election, because according to Reuters Ipsos opinion poll, Michelle Obama, the wife of former US President Barack Obama, is the only potential Democratic candidate who could beat Republican frontrunner Donald Trump in November's election. And if you remember, when I was analyzing the situation around Biden and all that stuff, I mentioned several names with whom Biden might be replaced, and I mentioned Michelle Obama also, and who knows, maybe exactly she will be nominated as a presidential candidate from Democrats. This is going to be third presidential term for Barack Obama, I guess, if she is nominated, and if she will really manage to beat Donald Trump. According to this exit poll that was conducted for Reuters by Ipsos, she is only one right now that has have a realistic chances to beat Donald Trump. But yet again, according to this particular opinion poll, can we trust this poll or not? I don't know. Maybe this is a preparation of the ground by Democrat establishment, by ordering Reuters to publish this information. Maybe this is just a preparation of the ground to eventually nominate Michelle Obama as a candidate, to prepare ground, basically, to prepare public, and then to nominate Michelle Obama. I would not be surprised at all. And also interesting news that Hillary Clinton says she'd support Ukrainian attacks on Trump. By the way, if you don't know, Russian pranksters Bovan and Lexus, they call Hillary Clinton. They spoke with her and pretended to be former president of Ukraine, Poroshenko. And during this conversation, she was very happy to hear that this alleged Poroshenko will attack Donald Trump. She welcomed all the attacks on Donald Trump from Ukrainian side, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Because it was Hillary Clinton and her camp that were behind all that Russia-Gate story, isn't it? About Russia influencing U.S. internal politics, and now she's, very happy to invite her influence of other country, interference of other country in in U.S.'s internal policies, and basically encouraging Poroshenko. She was thinking that she's speaking with Poroshenko, isn't it? So she was encouraging him to attack Donald Trump as hard as possible. She was happy about it. So that's the real face of Hillary Clinton, by the way. She don't care about nothing that she says. She don't care about U.S. She don't care about U.S. citizens, their national interests, security of the U.S. She don't care about nothing but herself, her criminal family, and their riches. That's all. That's why she's, extremely nasty even for Democrats, by the way. Even Democrats, long-term Democrat voters, many of them are, tired enough with this corrupt family of Clintons. And I'm not sure if any Western media outlet will pay any attention to this nuance, to this conversation of her with the Russian pranksters, and to this nuance that she was basically openly calling for interference in the U.S. internal politics by encouraging attacks on the Trump. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that the so-called International Olympic Committee came up with a statement and denied rumors that Olympic Games will be postponed in France. They say that this is all fake news and Olympic Games and media attack on International Olympic Committee and France, while in reality Olympic Games will take place. Earlier, BFM TV channel shared information that due to condition of the water in a Seine river in Paris, there can be no swimming competitions in a river, and maybe this information become a generator of these rumors that these Olympic Games may be postponed. I don't really care. I don't really see these so-called games as Olympic because of the extreme level of politicization of the International Olympic Committee, and because they are using these sporting events to push some ideologies on the world public. Therefore, I'm not going to pay any attention if Olympic Games, so-called Olympic Games, will take place in France. So I just don't care. But yes, International Olympic Committee is stating that they will be games. Okay. Swimmers must, I don't know, man, take some measures not to get killed, by the way, by swimming around Seine. You know, Kommersant newspaper is reporting that Novak, Vice Prime Minister of Russia, Alexander Novak, who is basically overseeing energy sector of the in Russia, in Russian economy, said that Russia is ready to prolong contract with Ukrainian side and continue deliveries of the gas to European states through pipeline that lays in Ukraine, that goes through Ukraine, and it's now on the regime. What will they decide? Will they prolong a contract with Russian side or not? But in any case, Russia has no issue with it. If Ukraine will not block deliveries of the gas, the European states will receive Russian gas through this pipeline. For now, by the way, Kiev regime several times stated that they are in no circumstances they will prolong a contract with Russia, and current contract for transit of Russian gas through Ukraine expires end of this year, and there is not even talks, for now at least, about prolonging this contract between Russian and Ukrainian sides. Also, by the way, Novak stated that after meeting on sidelines of Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit in Astana, after meeting between Putin and Xi Jinping, Russian and Chinese leaders, decision was made to fast-track development of the Power Siberia 2 gas project, giant gas project, pipeline project, which will allow Russia to transfer to China 40 to 50 billion cubic meters of the pipeline gas, I believe, natural gas. And well, let's see if there will be any progress in the negotiations between the two sides, because talks between Chinese and Russian companies are taking place for many months now about some nuances when it comes to Power of Siberia 2. Price being one of the main topic of disagreements, as far as I understand. TASS news agency is also reporting that Russian Central Bank may consider to increase interest rates in July's meeting for 1 or 2% from up to 17 or 18%, which is not really surprising. Russian Central Bank wants to cool down economy here in Russia a little bit, cool down demand a little bit, and one of the ways this may be achieved is to increase interest rate. But well, I might need to take a loan from a bank in next 20 to 30 days, and for me personally, of course, if interest rates will increase, that will be bad news, because bank loans will become even more expensive. They are already expensive, but if central bank will increase interest rates, of course, banks will do the same, and credits will become also more expensive. But if this is what has to be done to make sure that the economy feels better, then that's what has to be done. It is what it is. And by the way, I remind you that Russia is dealing now with overheating an economy. Western ruling class probably were expecting that Russian economy will collapse and be destroyed completely as a result of this some 20,000 plus sanctions that was imposed on Russia by collective West. But in reality, what's happening is that demand is on high level, and their industries are working also on maximum of their capacities, and the economy is overheating. There is a constant demand for a more workforce, and because these issues, I mean, you cannot create more workforce in day or two, isn't it? It's not possible. You're not gonna build another like 1,000 factories or companies overnight, isn't it, to deal with the high demand. And yet again, even if you do, you need workforce. So it's an issue that economical bloc is working on. But I guess very few, if anybody at all, expected that instead of collapsing, Russian economy will deal with overheating after so many sanctions. But that's the reality, by the way. Everything is working on maximum of its capacities. And RT's report here that, and some may think that, overheating is good, but it's not really. It's not, and that's why central bank is considering some steps to be taken to cool down economy a little bit. RT is reporting, by the way, and I will end this update on this news, that head of Russia's Roscosmos space agency has weighed in on conspiracy theories surrounding the US moon landing, insisting that there is no doubt that soil samples retrieved by the Americans during their Apollo missions actually came from the lunar surface. Roscosmos chief Yuri Borisov was questioned about whether American astronauts had actually landed on the moon during the parliamentary season on Wednesday. The key piece of evidence that their Apollo mission were real, according to Borisov, is the fact that NASA shared soil samples from several manned flights with their Soviet colleagues. According to the expertise of our Academy of Science, the lunar soil turned out to be lunar indeed. Borisov reassured lawmakers, insisting that the samples were analyzed in numerous countries, not just in the USSR. Although, by the way, previous head of the Russian Space Agency, Dmitry Rogozin, was far more skeptical about their Apollo missions, saying that while many in Roscosmos defended Washington's version of the events, no conclusive proof was ever presented to him. According to Rogozin, several unnamed academics even angrily criticized him for complicating international relations and undermining their sacred cooperation with NASA. So, yes, Rogozin had a different approach. He was somewhat skeptical. Current head of Roscosmos is convinced that there was U.S. astronauts landed on the moon. Of course, these discussions will continue probably forever. If you ask me, I have no idea, by the way. I mean, NASA says they went to moon. Russian Roscosmos says at least samples that they provide to us, to USSR at the time, those samples clearly are from lunar surface, because of course Russia also, Soviet Union also send it's not manned spacecrafts, but it's spacecrafts, unmanned spacecrafts to moon, and Soviet Union also retrieved some samples of the lunar surface. So yes, Russian side is convinced that those samples that US transferred to Soviet Union were real from moon. But can we be convinced that that is enough evidence? I mean, where is the tracking data? Soviet Union probably was tracking, isn't it? Or should track if there was any spacecraft moving towards the moon, and there should be some data about it or something. But yet again, I'm not really that interesting in this conspiracy. I just don't know. Did the US astronauts really land on the moon or not? But I mean, head of Russian Roscosmos is convinced that they did. So it is what it is, man. As I said, these rumors will continue forever, because always there will be always questions. After all, I mean, if you were well capable of flying to the moon in 60s and 70s, in 70s, sorry, and 80s, if you have had a technology then why you stop? I mean, why you stop? You could build a lunar base or something. Why you stop flying to the moon? It's a legit question, isn't it? And I reminded you, friends, that first human, according to official information, who stepped on the moon was Armstrong on July 21st, 1969. You know, despite all the US missions being closely monitored by its space rival, the USSR, skeptics have questioned the authenticity of their Apollo program ever since their astronaut Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon on July 21st, 1969. So yes, these rumors will continue forever. Skeptics will never be convinced, and me personally, I have no strong opinion, by the way, because I just don't know. I mean, I just don't know. Okay, this is it. This is it for now. Hopefully you will find this update informative, interesting, useful, maybe entertaining. That would be great. And if so, dear friends, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, and if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life or on internet. Yesterday, YouTube's algorithm smashed, hammered my update. Very few members of our community probably received notification about our update. Hopefully today's video will do better. Maybe algorithm would not be that aggressive. Let's see. And well, finally, if you like this channel, if you like my work, you can support with donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Have a great day and take care.